This is Ben, Cave Crusher. Today I'm doing a video on Argentina, um, robber baron's next target. Um, you can see what they're pointing at, and this is their typical playbook we've seen before, like we've seen from their attempts with Venezuela in the past, Cuba in the past with these segments. You know, this destabilization and stagflation of an economy. That's our strategy to push regime change so we can take over their country because their moves are threatening this security, the long term security of the dollar. So let's look at this
An
segment.
economic crisis worsening by the day. Argentina becoming unaffordable for essentially its whole population, suffering 104% annual inflation, according to its official statistics agency.
Yo veo mucha gente necesitada, gente.
A lot of people in need, people in the streets, and a need for more jobs, said this man, as his country holds the unsettling place of second worst inflation in Latin America, only behind Venezuela. The economic crisis leading to a political upheaval.
Recibimos en 2019 un país endeudado.
On Friday, President Alberto Fernandez sharing this video informing the country he will not run for re-election, admitting Argentina is facing tough times.
En recesión.
My administration took over a country in debt, in recession, in default, with high levels of poverty and inflation, said Fernandez, also blaming the COVID pandemic for some of the economic shortcomings.
Como lo hicimos durante la pandemia.
But the move opening up a political vacuum of sorts. His vice president, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, found guilty of corruption, which she denies, also says she's not running.
Go back, go back, go back. During that Rona sign-up, his country did not take the Pfizer. He opted for Sputnik from Russia. He did not take the mRNA poison into his country. That's the segment they pointed out in this economic crisis segment. This is what they're pointing out in their media.
But the move opening up a political vacuum of sorts. His vice president, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, found guilty of corruption, which she denies, also says she's not running. Neither is center-right opposition party leader and former President Mauricio Macri. As the country's leaders step back, in the streets, people urging the government for help.
En mi caso, por ejemplo, cero capacidad de ahorro.
I have zero capacity to save. Compared to last year, what I could have saved dropped by 60 or 70%, said this woman, adding the inflation in Argentina feels like never before. But currency instability is a long-standing stain on the country. The last time Argentina saw inflation over 100%, back in 1991, when restaurants lined their walls with worthless bills and shop owners closed in protest. Now, workers taking to the streets again, demonstrating against poor living conditions, and the country borrowing $44 billion last year from the International Monetary Fund.
En el caso de los comedores, por ejemplo, las ollas vacías están vacías por la inflación y por la decisión política.
Making poor countries scream. That's what happens when a country takes our loans. They tell them to, they just get all these hot money speculators stealing the wealth, drying up the wealth from the country, leaving the country in just debt servicing. Always this conflict in developing countries, always pulled left and right in trying to find solutions against this debt-based rotten system we impose in their countries. Because we don't want them moving to any alternative but our system. We want to get them hooked. That's why we put them on this 44 billion loan shark last year. What happened last year? I will show you after this
de este
episode.
gobierno de no entregar la comida como parte de la reducción del gasto social para pagarle al Fondo Monetario Internacional.
Economic experts say if the government is spending more than it collects in taxes, there are only two solutions.
Either they print money that creates inflation, or they issue new debt. This government totally destroyed the possibility of issuing new debt, so they have to finance primarily by printing money.
Worsening the crisis, a drought making soy, corn, and grains scarce.
Another aspect, when that's is that climate, if there's like a problem with that, they will bring their vultures to come in, their big aggro to come in and seize these lands. And poison the environment, poison the people. This is our rotten system. This is what we do.
The country preparing for a presidential election this fall in hopes that someone can save Argentina from its own economy.
And with that, Guad Venegas joins us tonight from Miami. So, Guad, across Latin America, voters are turning.
Always Miami, the strategic place. You know, there's strategic centers to control that Latin America. You know, a history with the CIA, a history of what these exiles, you know, from Cuba, you know, in Miami, they you know, these sellers, these national traitors in Miami, you know, serving big business interests. This is what we do. This is
Colombia, in Brazil. What's
these
expected to happen in
gangsters
Argentina with that election coming
here.
up?
Well, Tom, in Argentina, we have three main political parties, right? We have the left-wing union, which is the one the president belongs to. Then we also have the center-right party and the far-right. Now,
Go back. Who's running?
Tom, in Argentina,
Who's the government now?
Parties, right? We have the left-wing union, which is the one the president belongs to. Then we also have the center-right.
The current president is the left. It's on the left. This is the target right here. This is why they get views. This is the views right here. This is what we do to countries. Governments that are on the left in developing countries. We make the economy scream so we can push regime change. So they talk about these candidates, what the oligarchs expect for October this year.
Which is the one the president belongs to. Then we also have the center-right party and the far-right. Now, so far, the polls have seen a
center-right and far-right oppositions, so-called oppositions.
bipartisan support for the right-wing party this year, while the center-right party and the left have both lost ground. So the race appears to be tighter and tighter. All three parties are within just a few points. And of course, some of the most prominent candidates are stepping away from the campaign right now. So it doesn't look to be mirroring the rest of Latin America right now with that move to the left. Things should get interesting as we move closer and closer to the election in October, Tom.
When we deliberately make countries scream under a left-leaning government, we implant our right-wing selves as a way to regime change, so our right-wing selves can serve our long-term interests in this country. Who was that woman that said the minerals is strategic? You know, she said something about it. I can't find the video, but if I see it, she said something about the minerals. Something with lithium, something that is part of our, green, great reset. All these other think tanks have talked about it in the US. So, I don't care about this shit. Trying to look for the right one. Yeah. What happened last year? Argentina joins China's Belt and Road. The Argentine president's attendance at the Beijing Winter Olympics brought big strides in the relationship. This was February 10th, 2022. We want to make Argentina the way we've been controlling Brazil for a long time. Still to this day, we're trying our very best to try to get Brazil back, because Lula is flipping too much and we don't like that. Despite my previous view of Lula, but his position, his action speaks louder than words, and he has been doing things the opposite strategically. That is making places like Washington fear. They're losing controlling interest in Brazil with the more alignment with BRICS. Look at this, Belt and Road. And guess what? Not just that. Last summer, they expect this year, 5 new members. I don't know when this expansion will begin. Could it begin this summer, before the October elections, or after the October elections? But last July, Argentina, alongside Iran, were bidding for membership of BRICS. The alliance president reveals that Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, a NATO member, have the same plans. Turkey, I spoke about on my Substack. you know, ahead of their May 14th elections. This is it. This is what we do. We are trying our best to prevent. We are trying our best to prevent Argentina's plans to go and join BRICS so they can go and join new development bank that will inject the country with new life off to their economy. We don't want that. We want them under our loan shark, shrinking World Bank's irrelevant Bretton Woods system that has been neoliberalized. And we've been out of the gold standard for 50 years. We don't want them moving to alternative system. That is going to harm our last stranglehold, imperial stranglehold of the world. The last stage of colonialism, this last stage of imperialism, neocolonialism, which is this king dollar unipolar order. We don't want this multipolar order opening up. The IMF have been threatening countries across the globe, that warning them if you pursue this multipolar strategy of two-tier economies, it will be catastrophic for their global economy. And their global economy is speaking as Western economies, interconnected capital markets. That's what they're talking about. Those economies that benefit these speculative capitalist vultures who are profiting from the enslavement and poverty abroad and at home. They do not want countries, poor countries, developing countries to develop. They want them underdeveloped, enslaved to our loan sharks, and that's the goal. So US has a long history in Latin America controlling that region. And there's a history of Gladio in that region in the 80s. I think in the 80s or before that. I'm not sure, forgot. But I remember. This is the region that is trying to break free from US hegemony, Uncle Sam hegemony. 2023 Argentine general election is October 2023. So they are betting on their interests because we are losing influence rapidly. We can't stand China's presence that is standing in the way of our globalization fascist project, privatization, public-private partnership crap, whatever that we are imposing of this rotten economic system we live under to the world. This is the economy of Argentina, which is interesting. Its biggest trade partner is its neighbor country, Brazil, and China is second, and the United States is third. Third, they're not even first, and that is one of the big problems for American establishment interest that they are losing control. They are losing economic strength, hegemony over that country. Brazil and China is their biggest trade partners, the members of BRICS. The BRICS that Argentina is trying to join. Trying to join a group, a business grouping that sees fit for their economic future. Their economic future with the US is very shrunk. It's very slim. And we are pushing this campaign that they need saving from the evil trichomes and that evil leftist Lula. And this is what we are trying to do. Anything that's alternative is it's evil communist, it's evil left, it's evil socialist, it's this, it's that, all these Cold War rhetoric. People outside of this obvious mainstream media are doing the worst work that outdone the bullshit Operation Mockingbird, MSM, the traditional legacy media. The old media is no different. The old media is an extension of mainstream media. It is it is far worse. It is the most propaganda agency out there with the power of online social media. You have the likes of these big tech that give voices and amplify these paid influencers, group thought leaders, pointing at countries. Oh, this is what the government would do to you. They will seize you. They will seize your land. They will seize your house. They will do this. They will do, spreading all sorts of bullshit narratives, manipulating their audiences. When a country is being deliberately destabilized by us. They done this with Venezuela. They done this with Sri Lanka. This disgusting narratives, and they claim to be resistance. They claim to be resistance, and then the funny narrative. Oh, the people are just stuck in the middle because the government and the people outside of the government, the aggressors, all this sitting on the fence argument I've seen from the likes of from that YouTube channel. I forgot. Yeah, really disgraceful when she did a disgraceful, shitty take on Venezuela. Really shitting the country, shitting the government. Don't know what the fuck what's going on down there, what we were doing to that country, what the private sector was doing to the country, deliberately sabotaging the economy, taking basic needs out of the country, like bread, food, other basic necessities, to make the economy scream. And then we're doing it with our interest in Washington to make sure that Venezuelan government fails and crumbles, so we can regime change and put our fucking solid guy in the country to do our interests, to have, our interests in the country. so we can suck the lifeblood out of these poor countries. This is what we are doing. We're doing that shit to Sudan. We are destabilizing that country. Newland has so many hands in her pot, stirring up shit as usual. That cookie monster can't sit her fat ass down in Washington, always running around the globe, fucking up countries, destabilizing countries, destroying countries. The world has had enough with our bullshit interventions. And they're no longer taking shit. This is what we've been doing for a long time. People in the upper government levels in these developing countries are starting to get it. They are starting to realize what these motherfuckers here are about. All those speeches in these diplomatic tours, is bullshit. And at the end of the day, you can talk and splash your little coins on these countries to get a buy-in for your bullshit democracy project that nobody believes in anymore. But money talks, and China has money. Money that comes with tangibles, and these countries will leverage it for their economic development, and they don't have time for any other crap. Because they know, the governments know, they have to serve their constituents. They have to serve their people, the people that are suffering from our bullshit, rotten system we have imposed on these countries for a long time. I have talked about this in the past. I have talked about the IMF project in the past in Africa, their activities, their roles. This is nothing new. So, this is Argentina. So, whatever happens that October. We will be looking into that and seeing the developments later in the year, what they're planning, what we are planning to do to that country, because we do not like these developments. We can't accept the reality. Can't accept the reality. How many people attended the democracy summit where Council of Foreign Relations had to cancel their annual summit because it was a flop? Nobody cares anymore. And to what they're doing in Sudan, they're doing this rinse and repeat like they did with Afghanistan. Oh, let's take people out, all this shit. When they're losing control, as I just expected, they're pulling in Afghanistan. because we know the Taliban took back control of their country and burned all these poppy fields that the CIA and all these big business have been benefiting for decades. All this status quo, keeping these countries under our foot, is that we are losing grip and we are losing our control rapidly. And I've been saying it for years. This is nothing. It did not just come in a vacuum last year or this year. I've been seeing this slowly and slowly and slowly for years. And go back before Biden. That's it. So this segment, I don't want to keep it too long. This is just a short one, and I hope you see what's really going on, and you see the pattern and the playbook, the same old playbook, and people who have brain can see this is the same old trick. So that's it. I don't want to waffle too much. I don't want to. That's it. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great evening. Bye.